Start going.
No.
So yeah. This is a ton of people, thank you. And I hope you're all interested in a bunch of computer hardware stuff. We have some sweet setups over here. Some overpriced setups from Gennaro. And just before they do that, I'm just going to make a few announcements. And so we talked to our advisor, Dr. Dory, and he gave us a few projects that he might want us to work on. So I don't know if you guys know about the kiosk in the engineering building, because I didn't even know about it until he told me about it. It's like you walk in and it's directly to your left, and it's just
buried in a corner.
It just lights up. It doesn't really do anything. So he wants us to fix that at some time with ME students. So I'm gonna get that all figured out, and if any of you guys want to work on that, help me work on that. Be my guest, that'd be sweet. And then I don't know if you guys have looked at the ACM TV. Right when you get into the engineering building, Joseph updated a bit. It doesn't look as ugly anymore. It looks more its age, so it's nice and pretty.
And I think we might do a giveaway on the TV. So at a certain time, we'll just drop a time. You have to go to the TV, try to solve like a puzzle or something. We'll give you a $10 Amazon gift card or something.
So that would be cool.
Trying to encourage people because we put internships, announcements, and all sorts of stuff on the TV now.
And we're also going to put like other club announcements if they want to be put up there. So if you guys know anyone that wants that, that's cool too.
Is that the TV you guys had like the DDoS map on?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought we were talking about the giant flat screen one.
No, not the giant flat screen one. And then I thought about some future goals, and I want to go to ACM ICPC, which is the National Programming Competition, and that's next semester, so don't worry, you have time to prepare. And we're going to have a professor mentor come in, and like every other meeting, we're going to practice for the programming competition. And that would be awesome. I don't know, probably in another state, we'll have NAU pay for it and everything.
A lot of
So,
money.
Yeah.
It's like $10,000.
Read the checks.
All right. It'll be expensive, but we'll make it work. And then also,
Well, no, you would win 10,000. You're not gonna spend 10,000.
I have no idea how to spend that.
10,000 flat fee.
It ain't $10,000 bucks. I'm pretty
Somebody's
sure.
got to pay for $10.
No,
Win
in prizes.
Win money prizes.
You win $10,000.
Somebody has to
Yeah,
line Tanner's pockets.
And then
It's like a year tuition.
also shirts. So we have most of the
Submissions.
submissions in. And how do I work this in, Joseph? One second, I got this.
Tanner, while you're doing that, can I talk about State Farm?
Wait, yeah, just give me a sec. This is why I should just pop up right away. No, actually, yeah, Steven's going to tell you guys something that's happening next week. That's a pretty awesome opportunity that you guys all should go to just to network and meet some people in industry.
All right, so we have, for those of you that don't know, we have State Farm coming this upcoming Tuesday. I've been working together with the IT Club's president, and we're doing like a joint event. That's why it's not going to be on Thursday, because a lot of people are probably leaving for spring break anyways. But it'll be Tuesday, 7 p.m. in the business building, and I'll post the specifics on the Facebook page. But they're going to come and do like a demonstration, whether it be I think they're doing some tech stuff, but then also like IT stuff. So it's kind of got the best of both worlds, so we can intermingle. By show of hands, who's interested in going to that? So that way I can get like a head count. Anyone? Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so about like 12. And then also sometime next month after we get back from spring break, State Farm wants us to come down. They're going to give us a date, or like we need to decide on a date that we can go down and tour their facilities. They're offering us the ability to go down to Tempe, we'll probably carpool or something like that. If enough people want to go, I know that we can handle that in a different way. But tour their facilities down in Tempe. Show of hands, who would be interested in doing that? I don't have a specific date for it yet, but it would probably be in April sometime. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, cool. So now I've got some notes. Thanks. I'll post the specifics on the Facebook page for their visit on Tuesday.
All right, so I'm just trying to give you guys a sneak peek about.
Nope.
Don't look at that one. I'm giving you guys a sneak peek on some of the t-shirt submissions here. So we're going to get that ready for you guys soon, probably after our next exam tomorrow. And, oh wow.
Okay, I'm my bad.
Okay. And then this one over here was created by Ryan, and I think it's a valuable candidate.
Wait,
in
is
the
this-
whole thing.
Yes!
And we'll put ACM right under it. You don't gotta buy the shirt if you don't want to,
I'm buying it.
but I'm probably buying it, and then we'll
Take
choose
20.
some other stuff, and then we'll go from there. But I don't know. That just made me.
I feel like we should get a shirt that has a pocket and have that be like the image inside the pocket.
And then yeah, I guess,
Pocket Dan.
I guess that's it for me.
Click
And,
ACM 20.
Now, Dan and Joseph are going to come present up here, talk all about computer hardware. If you guys have any questions about what I've said, by the way.
Can you leave the picture up while Dan
Can we get that in Spanish?
All right, have it your way, Adam. I'll leave it up there. But cool. Thank you guys for listening to me.
Sounds good.
Is this a police drug?
You just turn it off.
Oh yeah.
This is your culprit. His name is Dan.
Also, we need to sign sheet.
It's a tsundere.
Just send it down.
Tsundere.
Send it down that way, because there's people over there.
All right.
Yeah, please sign the sign-in sheet because we gotta report this stuff to nationals. It really helps.
True.
It's a tsundere.
Uh-oh. Well, projector's frozen. You can go to the technical difficulties slide if you want.
After showing Dan's face, it doesn't know if there's anything more.
Do we have the frozen
immaculate
still of Dan's face that we can use for technical difficulties from now on?
That's what we're thinking.
Technical difficulties, tsundere.
Dan is fixing our technical difficulties and put your face up there.
Technical difficulties.
404 Dan not found.
You want me to go sit down? Alright, well, once it's, fixed, question out.
Do we actually have a technical difficulties one? I see one that says something's wrong with the stream. That's it.
This one's working. It'll just come back on once we change it to a
You guys are still on. Joseph, there's no technical difficulties.
There's no technical
There's one that says like something's messed up with our stream, but that's it.
I love how we're teaching or doing a section on computer hardware, and yet we're sitting here with technical difficulties.
I know.
on computer hardware.
I love the irony.
Oh, it's on.
I'm sure it's down.
I think that second projection. I like it also.
That's all I needed. Anybody else?
Well, we only have the one.
So if everybody wants to migrate, no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, you might have to.
Okay, yeah, fine. I'll be chilling on the sideline.
Oh, yeah, that one's on over there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's turning on.
It's there.
Hey. You've done what Tanner never could.
I'll remember this, Ryan.
Dan, you kept your thunder at NAU.
Thunder at NAU.edu. Thunder.
It's not Thunder Dan at NAU.
All right. What are you doing, Adam? All right, so I got a few truths for you guys. First and foremost, I'm a hobbyist. I'm not in any means a professional at this, so all this information that I know is just from picking up over the years. Second, we kind of winged this whole thing, and I don't even think the whole thing's actually complete at the end. So we'll see how this goes.
In typical CS fashion.
What was the third one? I don't know if there's a third one. Anyway, my name's Daniel. Everybody calls me Dan. And My email is thunder@nau.edu. Don't email me. I won't respond. Moving on.
Everyone just email him right now.
So there's a few main PC parts that are required. And I'm sure a lot of you already know all these, but there's a lot of people who just don't. And that's what this is going to be about right now. Yes, Gennaro.
Where's power?
Shut up, Gennaro. Like I said, this was winged together in like the last 30 minutes, all right? So the main parts, PC parts you're going to need is motherboard, processor, and RAM. And also an HDD and SSD. And like Gennaro pointed out, a power supply. These are the main computer parts that a lot of people talk about, and they kind of get confusing, so we're going to dive into them. So the first one is a motherboard, and as you can see, that's a motherboard. It's actually a higher end motherboard, so a lot of you probably won't see ones like these. That's a little judgmental, but
Okay.
Rip Steven.
the majority of them out there have nothing to do look like that. They're all the basic motherboards that are in your computers, like in your classroom or something. I'm talking, guys. All right. Why did I shut him up? I don't know why prices came next, but anyway, sizes. You have an EATX. The board over here is actually an ATX size motherboard, and this is actually talking about the actual size of the motherboard itself. An EATX is much larger. It extends. Yes, Gennaro?
Does size matter?
No. It's all about performance and how it functions. The board over here is an ATX, which is kind of the mid-size. It's pretty much the most generic one. Then we go down to a micro and a mini ATX, and those things are just, the mini ATX is just a processor, I think like 2 DIMM slots and then like a PCIe slot, so it gets pretty small and compact. They're meant for very small locations. Okay. Prices, I think I put prices on there just to let you guys know they kind of range in like you can get cheap motherboards for like $50 or less, or you can go all the way up to like $500, $600, even $1,000 motherboards. And all it matters is really about how many lanes, how many bus lanes you have. I don't really think you can see on these boards. Yeah, you used to be able to see that there's actually bus lanes that go down to the PCIe. Oh, I'm walking the whole thing around. You used to be able to see the actual PCIe bus lanes go down to the PCIe slots and stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff matters. Basically, the more bus lanes you have, the more transfer speed and the more bandwidth you can have between the processor and the PCIe. Same with the RAM slots. So these are called DIMM slots. These guys right here, these are the RAM slots, DIMM, and these are PCIe. And then they got I think it's micro PCIe. I can't remember. Like I said, I'm not a professional. All right, moving on. Processors and the big battle between Intel and AMD. There is a feud about this, so in my opinion, pick whichever one you think will do the best job for you.
That one says it's the smarter choice, though.
That is correct.
Yes, but the other one is core, therefore it's integral.
Okay. And, so a processor is your workhorse. It's the one that's crunching all the numbers, the bits and bytes, and the zeros and ones, right? So, what do I want to say about it? Like I said, there's a big feud about them. AMD runs very hot, but it just keeps running. Intel is more methodical about it, and they're kind of a little more streamlined, but they kind of run at lower speeds. So
they also keep running.
They all keep running, yes. I have an AMD. Gennaro has an Intel, so there's we fight each other over this.
Dan's lost my respect.
Well, okay. That's not a big deal to me. Is there anything else I want to add about it, Gennaro?
Price?
Prices, once again, you can range from $20 processor to $1,000 processors. It gets ridiculous, the amount of processors. The big thing is about core count. That's really important to a lot of people. So typically you can do multi-threading, which I think a lot of you are maybe in operating systems.
Woo!
Hey,
Kill me!
we're talking about threading, actual Nope, Kellen's okay. So each core can do multi-threading. Usually they do 2 threads per core. So you can have like a 2-core processor, or a dual-core processor, and it will have 4 different threads. So you kind of like, it's hyper-threading, and we can get into it if you guys want to. I don't really feel like it. For instance, my AMD it's a 1700X, and it has 8 cores and it has 16 threads. So in my opinion, that's pretty darn good. Gennaro, yours is what? Also
6 quarters.
6 cores. He's a loser. Moving on. Oh, we got the RAM. The RAM is the processor and the RAM work in tangent. They are buddy-buddy. You need RAM with a processor. You need a processor with RAM. You can't have one or the other. You gotta have both of them, right? So the RAM typically sits directly to the right of the processor. Typically sits directly to the right of the processor or to the left, depending on how.
No, he's plugging in another
All right. And these guys work in tangent, right? So what RAM does and what it stands for is random access memory. All right. So at any given moment, the processor can.
It's the fan.
Boy. I didn't realize that you put a bicycle wheel on the computer instead of a fan.
Anyway, so at any given moment, at any given moment, this is supposed to be serious, guys.
This is a good TED Talk.
Welcome to ACM.
So at any given moment, the processor can access what's located in the RAM. And typically you have different RAM sizes, like they come in like 2 gig sticks, 4 gig sticks. Well, they used to come in like 2 megabyte sticks. We're not gonna get there. So obviously, we're probably gonna deal with 4 gigs, 8 gigs, 16 gigs. I know some people have more than that, and it gets to the point of unnecessity. Yes, Tanner. Mr. President.
So my PUBG is running slow, Dan. I only
Your PUBG is
have
running slow?
12 gigs of RAM.
That's
If I add
impossible.
more,
You can't have 12.
yeah,
You
if
can
I add
download more.
You can have 12?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
increments of 2
Yeah, you
bytes.
can.
I can have 18, I can have 24. As
At
long as
least you
they're
tried
It
that.
can
Maybe
create
it's
problems
different.
sometimes.
I'd be surprised.
If I get 32, will it speed my game up, Dan?
Get a better processor.
That's yes or no. It depends on the game. PUBG is very RAM intensive, so yes, in PUBG it would help you. Any other, there's really obnoxious over there. Any other game, it might not help you. Anyway, so at any given moment, the processor can access the memory that's stored in RAM. And a lot of people have a misconfusion of memory and data. Thank God. A lot of people have a confusion between memory and data. Your hard drive doesn't store memory, it stores data. So a lot of people kind of get that confused. It's a common little thing that happens. What else do I want to say about that? Nothing.
different types of
Speeds. Speeds are pretty important. The faster it is, obviously, the more data you can transfer between the processor and the RAM. The reason the RAM sits so close to the processor is because this needs to be instantaneous. The processor needs this information, and if it can't find it in the RAM, then it will go search into the data at your hard drives or hard disks, your SSDs or hard disks. All right. And then prices. Once again, prices range from low as $20 up into the thousands.
You can get for $1 at the surplus store.
You can get them for $1 at the surplus store. I recommend not doing that.
Beefy machine.
Right now, RAM price. If you're thinking about building a computer, RAM prices are just through the roof. They've ran out. Well, they're having a shortage of the chips that actually, unfortunately, you can't really see them. But underneath these like heat shields, there's little chips that run along the. Anyway, they run a. What are you doing, Tanner? Nothing.
Hey Dan, I have a question.
Yes.
So you said RAM and processors go in tangent together?
Correct.
Yeah, so if I had an i5 processor, what kind of RAM would be ideal? Or is that?
It actually depends on what generation processor you have.
Okay.
Because right now, there's DDR3 and DDR4. What?
Yeah, what are?
Don't even bring up DDR2 and 1. What was that?
Why not D1 and D2? What is that?
They're very slow and they're outdated.
Okay.
DDR3 is pretty much what most people have right now. They're at this time they're kind of converging into DDR4, but it hasn't hit like mass market. And when I say mass market, I mean like every PC in the world. Like us, probably computer scientists, we probably all run DDR4.
Don't forget about the E's.
And electrical engineers. Yes, Tanner.
If I want to build a gaming PC, should I get an i5 or an i7? And I just want to play video games on it.
I get an i5. You don't have to spend as much money, and it will do the exact same thing for gaming. Did I say i5 or did I say i7?
Say i5.
Yeah.
Alright, good. I meant i5. At the end of that, I thought I said i7. Mainly, when you go into the topper tier of processors, you start getting into completely different areas, like video editing. Like you need that crunching power to render videos and stuff like that. But for gaming, it's very light on the processor, so you don't need a very high-end processor. Gennaro and I, once again, we're elitists, and we have to have the best of the best, so don't follow my lead. Do as I say, don't do as I do.
Yes.
Okay.
Usually say not as I do.
Do as I do. Okay, we're moving on to what everybody likes to talk about, video cards, aka graphic cards. Graphics cards? Graphic cards? Graphic cards.
GPU.
Once again, there's a big debate, just like Intel and AMD. There's a big feud between NVIDIA and Radeon. Actually, currently, I think AMD actually just bought Radeon, so actually AMD and Radeon are the same thing now. But that's unimportant. Once again, typically Radeons run really hot. NVIDIA runs really streamlined, very cool. They're typically said to be the better graphics cards, and I frankly tend to agree. I do have a GeForce NVIDIA and GeForce, same thing. GT. You'll probably hear like NVIDIA GeForce GTX. That's a NVIDIA card. There's a lot of numbers. There's a lot of, and this is where a lot of people get confused. Same with processors. You'll spit out like numbers like the 1080s, 1070s, 960s, 90. You just spit out numbers all day, and people are like, "What the hell are you talking about?" And frankly, the only way I learned it is just by over the years. Like, if you want to go learn it right now, it's going to take you a while to understand that a 960 is less superior than a 1080. I mean, I can tell you that, but it's going to be like, why is it less superior?
Who's a bigger number?
Math.
So these guys are used obviously to render graphical displays. So like from you'll plug like an HDMI cord into the back of the I/O right here. By the way, this is all like I/O input output. You guys know about that, right? Operating systems, right? Okay. And that will output to a display. A lot of the times, you guys. Crypto mining, cryptocurrency. Crypto, oh, fuck that.
Dirty Bitcoin miners.
Dan, you're
Dirty
on live
Bitcoin
stream.
miners.
Is it like over 18?
Wait, why is
Like,
cryptocurrency
we're all in
bad?
college here. Like, who cares? Like,
This is why you're on a shirt.
this is why I bought a shirt. Anyway, so cryptocurrency has jacked up the prices of video cards right now. If you're wanting to buy, if you're wanting to build a system right now, don't. I know a lot of companies are actually building whole pre-built systems to bring down the prices. So you can actually go buy a pre-built system and get a pretty good, decent graphics card inside of it for what it should cost right now. The reason why these are being jacked up because you can use the GPU to actually mine cryptocurrency, which is just a giant like mathematical formula that it just crunches, and that's all it does for 24/7, and it just destroys the card with whatever they
And it
make.
uses a lot of electricity.
A lot of electricity, a lot of power. These guys are usually why you need like a higher power supply, like a higher wattage of the power supply, because they consume large amounts of energy. And maybe I should explain this, but they GPUs do go into the PCIe slots. Yes, Tanner.
So what's the difference between like a video card you put in your PC and one that you put in your laptop?
They make one specific for like laptops, and they're at the moment NVIDIA's kind of been ruling the market. So you'll have like a NVIDIA card, and it'll have like an M at the end of it, which is like a mobile graphics card. Basically, it's just kind of like it's supposed to run cooler for your laptop. You can't just go buy a GPU like this one off the shelf and expect to put it in your laptop. It does not work like that. These are meant for desktops and desktops only. If you want to upgrade your laptop's GPU, go buy a new laptop because you can't.
It's hard.
It's annoying.
It's
more
You don't want
positively
to
annoying.
cook sandwiches on your laptop.
But I do want to cook eggs on it.
Yes, Tanner.
So is the mobile version about the same?
Same
As the desktop version?
same price, or what do you mean?
Like has the same capabilities?
No, it doesn't. It's going to have a lower performance because it's running cooler, so it's going to throttle before it can actually exceed. So throttling is a big thing with GPUs because if they reach a too high extreme temperature, they'll actually start to throttle the actual performance of the GPU so that it can actually stay cooler and not melt because they can melt. Yes, Janar?
There are laptops with full-size graphics.
There are laptops with full-size graphics cards, and they're going to cost you fat stacks.
And they're very fat themselves.
And they're very fat themselves. I know no one in here has a laptop.
Is Jack?
Jack Garrard has a big Dell. Is that a full size?
It has a 1050 Ti. It's not crazy, but all the 10 series and laptops now don't have M's.
Oh, they don't?
No,
the specs
those are
like
now
the same.
desktop edition. I was fooling you, Dan, anyway.
Jack has Alienware.
What's that?
Jack has Alienware.
Yeah.
Ew.
It's literally
Okay.
just
It's okay with the 10
So they're
series.
getting
They,
better.
10 series,
At least the
Alienware
video cards are
was
getting
bought by
better.
Dell
So they're
like
not
10 years
well,
ago.
they might be lying to begin with. They might still have not the same.
Well, it might be the same power, but it just can't
Capabilities.
get as hot. So then it's
Yeah.
a bottleneck.
anyway, so then the big question a lot of people ask me, can it run 1080p gaming? A lot of people love 1080p. I do 1080p gaming personally, just because I can't afford a 4K monitor that has a high enough refresh rate. Anyway, I would start like at I think like a 960 can do 1080p. So if you wanted to go really cheap, you can go down to like a 960. Like a 960 Ti, maybe like a 950 Ti. I don't know if a 950 Ti. At low settings, maybe you can take. It's a stretch for the 950. So if you're wanting to do like really 1080p gaming on a decent like monitor, by like you can get like a 960. You can set down to the 9 gen. Yeah. Radeon, they have a different numbering system. And currently, the Vega 64 GPU is actually their brand new GPU that they just came out with. But before that, so they changed the whole naming scheme again to confuse all of us. But before that, they had like the 580, the 480s, the 400 series, 500 series, and those can also as well do 1080p gaming. So yeah, so these are a hot topic. The graphics cards are always a hot topic because
fun.
I guess.
I can buy a graphics card from Hot Topic.
So lastly, a lot of people, not lastly, but next, hard disk drives against solid state drives.
Hybrid drives.
There's a hybrid drive, which basically combines an SSD and a hard disk. I think it's kind of self-explanatory. A lot of people ask me, what's the difference between these two? Hard disk drive actually has, unfortunately I can add an image of it cut open, but there's an actual like spinning platter inside that hard drive. So it's actually spinning at anywhere from like 5,400 RPMs to like 7,200 RPMs. I think like they even go to like the 10,000s, like extremely fast hard drives. But in my opinion, they'll never keep up with a solid state. So solid state is a solid state drive. It doesn't move, and it's just if you open up that shell, it's just chipsets on there. So it's like flash memory, kind of.
It's really cool.
What's that?
It's really cool.
It's cool. Also, the hard disk drive is mechanical. So like in here, there'll be a platter spinning, and then typically it's like the top, I think right or left corners. There's like a arm that actually actuates and reads the disk head. Yes, Tanner?
Dan, my computer takes like 3 minutes to boot up.
Oh, you get an SSD.
Get an SSD?
Get an SSD.
And how quickly will that make it go?
It will do
Instant.
it in like 30
Seconds.
seconds or less.
Like 2 seconds.
30 seconds?
You're not buying it.
It takes like 7 seconds. But
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I have an HDD.
Okay.
And whenever I first built it, it booted up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And now it takes like a minute or two.
Yeah,
like,
so you start
over
adding
time-
applications on it, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the more that data that's stored on it, the more it's going to take, the longer it's going to take to boot up, just because of how it functions. Also, it kind of, I wouldn't say it bottlenecks the CPU, but it can slow down your overall system performance, just because if the information that the processor needs isn't in your RAM, stored in your RAM, it will actually have to then contact the HDD, and if that's like on sleep or something, it might take a little bit longer.
Nails will fail from time to time.
And they're also very prone to failing because they're mechanical. So anything that's mechanical, it just fails. It just breaks.
In other words, HDD.
Friction happens. We all know what friction is, and there's friction inside there.
Delicious.
Also, if you do have hard disk drives, I've always been told like don't just put them on something and just leave it there. Because vibrations, and so like if you have like 2 hard disks like just like sitting on top of each other, like the actual vibration from the actual moving parts can actually corrupt data and stuff. So always make sure you have spacing between them. They also do get quite hot. They actually do produce heat because they're spinning at such a fast speed. So you know, keep that in mind. Also, don't move them while they're running. Just don't.
Only if you want to hot swap.
Because if you tilt that and there's a platter inside there, you guys know what centrifugal force is? Yeah? Okay, cool.
Centripetal.
What's that?
Centripetal.
What'd I say?
You said centrifugal. That doesn't exist.
Okay,
It's not in
I don't
tangent.
give a
It's in
crap.
tandem.
Or as my grandfather says,
Is it
crapsies.
It's in tandem, not in tangent.
Okay, like cosine.
What is it?
You said in tandem.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, it's in tandem.
Intense.
Alright, I grew up with dyslexia, so that's my excuse and I'm sticking with it.
Cosine.
So a lot of people also do a really smart idea, is they have their operating system loaded up on the solid state drive, and then they'll load like all their big games onto a hard disk drive. And that way you have the boot speeds and your operating system runs at a relatively fast speed. And then whenever you actually want to play a video game, you just can access it. And it doesn't need to be quick. Any questions about those guys? Tanner? Okay. Oh, we're on the extra slide. Okay. So those were the main ones. I did, like Gennaro said, point out, I did forget about the PSU, which is the power supply. It obviously is important to actually power the system. You kind of need it. And they run in like wattage and then ranking. So like you can have like the ranking system now is, I think it goes from like bronze. Is there silver?
It's like 80 plus, and then it goes all the way up to titanium.
Yeah, something like that.
80, I can't remember because I care anymore. I just like, this one's old. Let's take it. What's up, Tanner?
my friend,
Yeah.
you
have friends?
PC.
Okay.
It didn't pull too much power, maybe like 350 watts.
Sure.
And he wanted to buy a 750 watt power supply.
Okay.
Why is that bad?
Why is it? Well, it's not bad, but it's just going to cost you more money because the 700 watts is going to be more expensive than like a 500 watt one.
It's unnecessary to have 1250 watt power supply.
I think like I have like a 1080 or no 1050 I think 1050. It really annoys me. Wanted to just make it 1,000, but whatever.
Increments of 50 usually.
So anyway, they come in like a ranking system, plus gold, platinum. Gold and platinum being the upper tier power supplies, and when they talk about that, what they're referring to is actually like the durability and the last and the clean energy, the clean power that's actually coming into your system. Because obviously the power that goes straight to your wall isn't always clean power, as in like it can have surges and stuff. And so if your system doesn't have a very well-rated power supply, it will actually, the surge will actually pass through the power supply and actually enter your system. And if that happens, you can actually start breaking circuits and ruining your whole computer. So a lot of people have failing power supplies. If you have a failing power supply, you need to get that fixed, or else it can destroy everything. Tanner, do you have a question or not? Okay. So does that make sense? I think that makes sense.
Always make sure to have properly grounded power strip.
Yeah. Well, that's what you're working on. Okay. All right. Let's see. Oh, there's like modular power supplies and there's non-modular power supplies, which means like all the cables that actually plug into the power supply and then branch off into the rest of your system, you can actually unplug them from the power supply. Then there's like non-modular where they're all just stationary and you can't remove them. I personally have a modular power supply because it ends up giving it like a cleaner look because you can actually like cable manage it, and I'm not going to discuss that today. All right, so some extras. You can have like sound cards and NICs, network cards. NIC is a network interface? Yeah, interface card. And then sound cards. A lot of motherboards these days, especially well-built ones, you don't really need a sound card unless you're really into music. Network cards, if it doesn't support like Wi-Fi, you can actually add Wi-Fi to your whole system. And then cases are actually also important. You technically don't need one. I've seen people bolt these things to like cardboard or something.
Milk crates.
Milk crate, yeah. People get pretty creative. Zip ties. I've seen it.
Yeah.
What's that?
I just showed him a video of my cardboard.
Oh yeah. People get creative. I do recommend one because it keeps everything safe. Obviously, and it just makes sense. It allows you to, there's all ranges of cases you can get. They get real creative. Peripherals include like monitors, mice, and keyboard, and then any other like input device that you can think of, like a external hard disk or something, or an external audio device, which is up next, I guess. What do you mean by external audio devices?
Speakers.
Oh, speakers. Huh?
Speakers. Microphones.
So yeah, and then capture cards for live streaming. A lot of, especially this generation, I'm gonna say just this generation because I'm part of it apparently, is very into Twitch, live streaming, stuff like that. And so these are necessary for live streaming. They basically take in an input and they're able to, what's the word I'm looking for? Save it? Oh, you can actually record stuff. You can record that. Or you can actually just spit it back out onto the live stream and just, it compresses it. That's the word I'm looking for. So it compresses it and then it will put it up on the internet so that you don't have to use up all your upload speeds. All fun stuff. What's up?
How much are the capture cards?
These, once again, you can get cheap ones. I don't really recommend them because they're not going to be that helpful. I'd go in like the $100, $200 range to get a decent capture card. And then you can get up into the thousands once again. And that's like for like 4K streaming. If you have the upload speed, I guess you might want one of these, but not everybody has like.
Do they use capture cards in like security films?
No.
No?
No.
Just cameras.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, it might exist actually. I wouldn't say no to that. I mean, some might have that, but no, they just use a camera and record it. Yeah.
Okay, what about your battery? Like my laptop on my battery said it had too much storage. Or net storage capacity. Is that a real thing? Because that's what the notification like tells me.
Your battery said it had too much storage.
Yes, I swear.
Storage of what?
I don't know. That's why I'm thinking so much right now.
That was leaked into the battery.
Did you absorb the sun or something?
It like reached max
I have a fuse
storage.
box during my PC. Is that a good
If
enough
you have too much storage, your battery can't handle it, basically, with the message.
That makes no sense to me.
Okay, I will show you, but it's not.
Next time, show me that. Like, if that happens, let me know. Take a little screenshot or photo.
When are you going to be in ACM?
Never.
Okay. I'll email you.
Is there any other? If you need help, I'll help you out. Are there any other things you guys can think of that maybe you want to know more information about? Because
RGB.
Mice and keyboards.
RG. Oh, all-in-ones. Okay.
It's all
So RGB is the brand new. What's up?
So, I can go on your spiel about RGB, but you know, when you have a sound card, if you're gonna go invest in like high quality, set of headphones,
Yeah.
you're gonna want like amp and a DAC.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
But like a sound card versus like a high quality external amp and DAC, like which one would you like? You'd rather just go buy an external amp and DAC, right?
That's actually what I have. Well, I have a tube amp. I don't really have an amp and DAC, but that's what I have, and it just runs straight from the back of the motherboard's I/O, and it sends it up. What do I recommend? I mean, if you're really into audio, I would go with the amp and DAC, because that way you can unplug it from your computer and plug it in anything else you want. Maybe you're running off of like they're drawing pictures over there. It's very distracting, Josh. I would recommend going with the amp and DAC. I hear a lot of times that if you have an actual audio card, you get this high-pitched noise in the actual background. I think they've kind of done away with that, and they've kind of cleaned that up, just because of how it works, and it's kind of strange like that. Anyway, RGB. So there's a huge RGB. Everybody wants everything RGB. RGB this.
I just want no
RGB that.
I want Arby's.
Just make the whole case RGB.
What does RGB stand for?
So anyway, a lot of people like it. They just now actually, even my computer case has a little bit. It's the RAM. That's the new thing that they've been doing. Is the RAM has RGB. You can have like case fans with RGB, graphics cards with RGB. I've seen like mice with RGB, keyboards with RGB. Is there anything that doesn't? I've seen chairs with RGB. I've seen speakers. I just said chairs. I literally said chairs. I looked at you and it repeated chairs.
There are shirts with RGB.
There are shirts with. Yes.
A lot of the problems that you have is the fact that if you do want to sync up RGB in a case or something, you have to use like something like Aurora Sync or something else and have that. Do you think that eventually they're gonna have it like a universal?
Probably not. No, absolutely not.
I mean, that would make it so much easier.
It would make it easier for you as a consumer, yes. But
it
how
would
do you
make
buy
the money.
Corsair's product, or how do you buy Asus's product? You're saying project.
Like Corsair's gonna say hi to Asus and be like.
They're never gonna say hi.
They're not.
But like.
People are not friendly in this industry.
Because you can't buy a Corsair motherboard.
Okay.
And you need, if you want to hook up like the Corsair fans to like Asus motherboard, and then you have like you have to use their sync method, and then it's only supported by certain fans.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, you're restricted down to those parts. I'm like,
yeah.
It would be so much better.
It would be, and we would all love that, and I agree with you. But it's just how business works. They want you to buy their stuff and only their stuff. How are they going to make money if they make a universal one?
It's almost as deep.
So yeah, if you are thinking about RGB being fine, I don't know. RGB, it made sense in my head. Anyway, if you're thinking about doing like a whole RGB system, just be aware that there are actual different syncing systems. So if like you want everything to like, I've seen like effects like breathing together or changing colors together. There's some pretty cool stuff you can do. Make sure that you're actually getting stuff that actually will work together. Yes, Terrence? Okay. There was another one I think?
Keyboard and mouse.
Cooling.
Or we can skip most.
I'll come back to you. Cooling was a good one. So most processors, and when people talk about cooling, basically there'll be a tower or something, like a cooling stack, that will actually sit on top of the processor. So the processor gets extremely hot, In fact, if you run a processor without any cooling, it will destroy it within seconds. So you need to make sure that you have a cooler on there. I actually forgot about that. So there's like I think someone just said blow on it.
Gotta save that money.
Apparently I have the right one. Oh, I know what that is. So right now they have air coolers and water cooling. You can get real crazy with the water cooling. There's like hard light tubing, soft tubing, or you can get like all-in-one coolers, which I have on my system. Joseph, you have one as well. So if you want to see like an all-in-one cooler, you can check those out. But then there's also like air cooling and stuff, which is just like a tower, and then it has like aluminum fans and stuff like that. Aluminum fins to pass air over and cool your processor. So very important that you guys have that. In fact, it's a necessity. A lot of processors come with a little makeshift, if you want to call it that, cooler. It will work, it will do the job, but I do recommend actually getting a third-party cooler and actually cooling it adequately.
Liquid nitrogen cooler.
You can get to like 0-degree temperatures, even running like a processor at load if you use like liquid nitrogen, but if you're gonna do that, you can look it up yourself. We're not gonna get into that. And then keyboards and mice. So there's also a huge thing about mechanical keyboards. I personally have a mechanical keyboard just because every single time you press down the button, you're going to get a response. I don't even know the name of the other keyboard. You know Joseph?
Membrane.
What? Yeah, it's like a membrane. It's what these things are. They're just kind of what? Oh my god, I'm hearing things. They're just not very responsive in the sense that if you push the button down, it might not stay pushed down and it might actually pop back up. And, I mean, the button might be down, but it might not actually be pressed, is what I'm trying to say. And then they have like different levels of mechanical keyboards, so you can get like clickier ones if you want that. Or key switches. Key switches if you want to get technical. I don't even know the color of mine personally. It doesn't really, or they're blues apparently. It doesn't matter. Yeah, okay. Also, there's RGB in keyboards now, so if you can get like an RGB keyboard, everybody likes that. Same with mice. I think mice get rated in like DPI levels.
So what's DPI?
So like the higher the DPI, the more sensitive it will be to what you're doing. It will be just more precise. Is what they're wanting, and that's like professional gaming and stuff like that. You get into that. Or is there any other peripherals you guys want to talk about? Yeah.
What about like an M.2 SSD?
That's a good question. So currently they've been coming out. So obviously the hard disk came out, and then the solid state came out, and then they're actually moving into M.2 SSDs and are they even called SSDs or M.2 drives, I think.
Yeah.
And then they also have like PCIe SSDs, which is just a better, faster way of transferring information. So currently, a drive will connect to your motherboard via like a SATA cable, and obviously that SATA cable can be 1 foot long, 2 feet long, and that takes time to transfer speeds. With an M.2 drive, your M.2 drive is actually connected. Does this have one? Yeah, so this has one all the way. Is it? This is an M.2 slot right here, and it's actually on your motherboard. So you remove the whole SATA connection, and it's just a faster connection to the processor. And same with the PCIe. Is the PCIe SSD will just plug right into the PCIe slots, and they'll contact the processor via that one. What's up?
I know that SSDs, I mean, it's basically the same design for the PCI versus the SATA one. So what is the SATA limitation bandwidth basically for the
6 gigabits.
Is it?
And even then, it's theoretical, so you can't really get that high unless you do the PCIe sort of SSDs.
Okay. And then PCI also has a bandwidth limitation, but all of them do. But like,
I imagine it's much higher than 6 gigs.
For PCIe's, like if you think about it, the memory bandwidth for a graphics card can be 200, 300 gigabits.
Yeah.
So you got a lot more throughput because you're directly connected to the processor.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
Did you buy your Windows? Your copy of Windows?
We'll move on.
Just lie and say that you use Linux. Go into operating system.
So are there any other peripherals that you guys want to talk about? Anything else you guys think of? Because like I said, I threw this together in seconds. Okay, one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is maintenance. So like, I kind of compare it to like a car. A computer needs to be taken care of. You can't just expect it to work for you every single day and guarantee that it will work perfectly for you. So cleaning, what I meant by that, and in fact my computer needs to be cleaned, is actually cleaning out the physical dust in the computer. Dust is a huge issue because what it will do is if it builds up enough dust, it will actually bridge circuits together and that will release an electrical discharge and it will actually destroy your whole system. So cleaning it isn't very important. I know a lot of people don't clean their laptops, so like you can get like a can of air and just spray it into the fans and you'll probably be pushing out dust like crazy.
Could that be what's happening in my bag?
You can give it a try. Have you cleaned it in a while? When's the last time you cleaned it?
Probably when I got it.
Yeah, clean it.
4 years.
Obviously clean everything in the system, especially the power supply. Actually, if you, and a lot of people think their power supplies are failing just because of how much dust is in there, because actually they will actually completely shut the power supply off. So a lot of people assume that their power supply is failing. In fact, you just need to clean it out. So if you ever like experience like a power outage and your PC just shuts off, just make sure that you clean it out first and try it again. If it doesn't work after that, then get a new power supply. And you might even need new stuff. Yeah, what's up?
How often should you clean it?
Frankly, since mine has a window, I can kind of visually see when I need to clean it. But I mean, I would say every like few months. Don't go much longer than that. It's very important that you guys clean your computers. A lot of people getting problems because they don't clean their computers. And then I brought up security. So a lot of people like malware and stuff like that, viruses. So this is like the maintenance of the inside of your internal, right? It's very important as well. We all know about viruses. Have we all? Is there a?
Yeah, I did a discussion on viruses last year.
Oh, fantastic!
So it's on the live stream if you want to go check it out.
Everybody here remembers that. Anyway, hey,
there will be a
we're on live stream here, sir.
I'm not on camera.
So viruses can enter your computer via download, via clicking on a wrong link, going to an email and downloading something. Anything could happen. So what I recommend is an actual thank you. I couldn't remember antivirus. And I personally use on my Windows computer. I have a Windows Defender, and that actually just comes pre-installed on Windows. It's pretty much free for everyone. If you have Windows, it's already installed on your computer. So it's, how can you trust it? Because I don't need any viruses.
Okay, that's
also, like safe surfing of the internet. Like we all know those sites that potentially can give you. Pornhub is one of them. Alan, thank you.
I don't know why you're looking
I don't care about talking. Like sex is sex, guys. All right, we're all old enough.
Darren, move on.
So obviously we all know like what not to go to. It's kind of, I think in my opinion, it's self-explanatory. But for some people it's just not. So if you're not sure about a site, just don't even enter it. If you get an email from someone that you have no idea who it is, don't open up the links. Check them before you open them. And I think like with Chrome you can actually right-click and then you can not inspect, but like Can't you actually scan a link before you actually even go to the website?
Yeah. That's like Norton has stuff like that too.
I don't recommend getting Norton.
It's
because
expensive.
that's just horrible. If you're paying for your antivirus, in my opinion,
Don't use Sophos.
If you're
It's
paying for
spyware.
antivirus, you're just doing something wrong.
I recommend
Malware bites?
Avast is a pretty good free one. Windows Defender is what I use. A lot of people have Macs, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I never get viruses." Well, you can. What's that?
How often should you scan for viruses?
So that was the next thing that I was. So there's malware bites. Thank you. Nice segue. Thank you. Moving us on. So I've been recommending this application for I don't know how long. I've installed it on every computer that I've ever had. Bye, Callum. And every computer, like of my entirety of my family, has ever owned. Malwarebytes. Is it just Malwarebytes?
Do you pay for
Malwarebytes and Adware Cleaner?
Or do you use the free one? Do you pay for it?
So Malwarebytes you can download for free, and with the free version, it will just do the scanning of your computer whenever you choose to scan. So basically, it will go through your entirety of your file system and check for anything that's potentially harmful to your computer, and it will remove it for you. So Sarah,
Yes, Dan.
I recommend running Malwarebytes every few months as well.
And CC Cleaner.
So every other month you should be doing either
Every 3 months,
scanning
clean,
or
run.
following out the thing.
Clean,
Okay.
run. Okay? 7 miles? Yeah, run. And then there's also CC Cleaner, which these guys keep bringing up. It's also another free software. And basically, it will run through your computer, and if there's like anything that's cached that hasn't been used in months, it will actually just delete those files, because why you need them on your computer? They won't delete like your homework from like high school or something. No, it's gonna so like especially with browsers, you have like cookies and stuff. We all know about cookies, right?
They're delicious.
They are delicious. But they just stay there, and you actually keep piling them up, and they actually never get deleted. So CC Cleaner will actually go through and delete that. So like probably everybody here uses probably Google Chrome, because it's the best. Second, if it starts slowing down, you notice that there's like actual like latency in it. It could be just you have extremely large amounts of cookies saved, and just get rid of them.
Clear the cache.
Because they're not necessary. So yeah, so antivirus, malware, get a antivirus. I recommend a free one. That's all you're going to need. It's going to do the job. I recommend staying away from McAfee. Frankly, it's
a virus.
Every antivirus is a virus, but we won't get into that discussion, Stephen. So thank you for bringing that up. We can talk about it later. But McAfee is just, in my opinion, trash. And if it was his name, John McAfee, yeah. Well, I'll keep it PG. I'll keep it GP. GP. Dyslexia. Caught myself there. So antivirus, a free antivirus, Malwarebytes, and CC Cleaner will usually do all that you need. Okay. That is it. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Yes.
So, with the GPU mining craze that goes on right now, if your GPU, is it worth selling a GPU if you can profit like $300 off of?
Is it worth selling your GPU
off of what you originally paid for? I can make $300 to $400 off of what I originally paid for.
I feel you, but the question is, do you have a GPU to replace it?
I mean, not as good.
I mean, if you want to sell it and then just outlast the whole crypto mining craze, and then after it's done, you can buy yourself a better GPU. I say why not?
But how long do you expect the craze to go on?
Long time. Because of Ethereum.
It's here to stay.
Yeah, as soon as NVIDIA introduces their new GPUs, all of those are going to be sold out instantly to GPU miners. And then once that happens, it's going to spike up the price about $300 to $400 on new cards.
Yeah, this whole there's a whole debate right now about the whole GPU for gaming or mining, and it's a very hot topic right now. And frankly, there is no way of knowing when it will actually end. So if you want to make that few $100 and just suffer with your older GPU, then go for it. At least you made a few $100.
Yeah.
You feel me?
Yeah.
So that's up to you.
If I get a few $100, so I have.
If you need a few $100, do it. I don't know. Any other questions, guys? What's up?
I have a question. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer. No. It's regarding. Sorry.
What's that?
No, it's regarding VPNs. Do they work on school networks?
Yes.
They do, even though you have to like log in with your ID.
Yes.
Okay.
We don't know from any.
I know that answer. I don't live here on campus, so I don't know.
It
So I
encrypts your
don't
traffic
know.
regardless, as long as you pick a good VPN, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Just so everybody knows VPNs, yeah?
Explain.
So a VPN basically fools your, like, what?
Your title for this slide. PC.
Alright, we're all computer scientists here. We all know we do it, alright? I'm not the only one, so screw all of you. So VPN basically fools your IP or ISP, thinking that you're actually in a different location than you actually are. So that way you can do things, and that's where I'm going to leave that.
So you can say private.
Or yeah, so you can say private too. That's great.
Cool. So
Am I done?
now that Dan's done,
You are.
I hope you guys all took a million notes on everything Dan said. If you're not, I'm extremely disappointed in all of you. But I had a few more announcements that I forgot to make. I almost forgot them again, but now I remembered. So people who have came before meetings since last time now have access, by the way.
To the ACM.
Now have access to the ACM room, so you can scan your ID. Boom, awesome. And I know a lot of you have like 3, and this is probably your 4th, so I'm gonna have to get that situated. And wait, what happened? Okay, and also, our awesome treasurer Sarah is gonna go buy the food soon for the ACM room, and we'll have like an honor system. So you go in there, snacks will be cheaper than the vending machine, but don't tell anyone because it's low key. Because they got mad at us last time.
Except for the
I
live
don't know
stream.
about it because I wasn't there. And except for the live stream that everyone's watching. And so you're gonna go in there. It's gonna be like an honor system, and you're gonna be able to grab some food and put some money into the little metal box, and it'll just be a cheap snack whenever you're busy or working late at night. So cool. That's about all I had to say. Thank you all for coming in. I don't know if there's any more pizza left, but feel free to chat amongst yourselves. Check out their builds over there. They'll probably be over there to explain everything. And yeah, thank you guys.
There's a camera over there.
If you guys want to look at some systems, look at some